Hey guys, Caleb here with DSLR Video Shooter, and I'm excited to talk about this crazy audio rig that I've been using for a little over a year now, and it has massively changed the workflow of how I deal with sound whenever I'm making a video or doing any of my long form content. So, what is this thing? Well, in short, it is everything I need for sound that rolls around on a single stand. It is completely wireless, so I do all the recording, all the microphone, wireless, everything here, and then I link the sound with my camera file in post-production with a single click. So we're gonna be looking at the parts I use for this setup, and we'll also talk about a more budget-friendly alternative. This whole thing you're looking at here is around $1,500, and it gives you really amazing high-quality sound. So before I get into the parts, I want to talk about how it works. So far you've been listening to me on my Deity S-Mic 2, which is just up here, and I'm a little wider than I normally would be for this shot, so you can see what's going on. I'm now going to switch to a wireless lavalier microphone, and I'm going to grab my microphone and move it down, and right away you can start to see how flexible this system is. So in short, we've got a rolling stand, we've got an audio recorder, and I also have a wireless setup for videos like this where I need to go wireless with a lav microphone. And then I have an arm here from Rode, which is traditionally used for a desk setup or voiceovers or, large diaphragm microphones. But I have a shotgun microphone here. This means that whenever I need to set up for a video, I just roll the stand over to wherever I'm filming, extend the arm, and then it just stays there. Move it a little bit over. And it's amazing. It's insane how easy it is to get microphones set up. I can constantly be modifying lenses, changing my framing, and to make a change with the microphone, I simply just, move it just out of frame there, grab it here. If I need to, I can adjust the angle of the microphone. It gives me so much flexibility. Now, traditionally, when you're doing video and you have a shotgun microphone, you would have either a boom operator holding a boom and moving the microphone around, positioning it, or you would have what's called a boom holder or boom pole holder, and it would hold the pole and you'd run the microphone over a pole to just above your talent out of frame. The problem with those setups is you either need a human being to be your boom operator, or you need to fiddle around with setting up the microphone where it's just out of frame, and that's such a pain. You gotta set up a stand, more gear to carry, and also when you're sitting down and filming yourself, often I would have the microphone set up and I would need to move it up 2 inches and over and angle it. I would have to get up, go over there, adjust it, sit back down, and keep doing that until I got it just right. This setup allows me just to move the microphone exactly where I want it. When I let go, it just stays there. And that has made this whole setup a dream to work with. If I need to move around the studio, I can simply collapse the arm like you see here. Let me bring this whole setup a little closer to myself, and everything's nice and compact. I can set it up like that. And then of course, whenever I'm ready to go, just grab the boom and move it to where it needs to go. I also have my recorder, which in this case is a MixPre 3, right next to me. I can adjust my levels. I've got headphones right here so I can make sure everything's working well. I can press record, see the audio levels, and it's just amazing. So at this point, I want to break down the parts and show you how I built this entire setup for $1,500. We'll also talk about where you can save some money if you don't have $1,500. But this setup is pretty much not going to change going forward when it comes to in the studio stuff. I might work on an audio bag setup down the road, but for now, I'm absolutely loving this thing. And if I need to have an assistant monitor audio wirelessly, we can just roll this around the studio and he or she can sit down with a stool and just deal with audio while I'm off filming video. So without further ado, let's talk about building this thing from scratch. The very first piece of this whole setup is the stand, and because of the way this framing is set up, you can't see the feet, but essentially it is a really heavy duty, almost like a C-stand style stand. Wow, that's difficult to say. And it's really compact and low. I can extend it up, of course, but it has locking wheels built into the base that are foldable, so if you need to store it, you can do that more easily. It's around $150, which I know seems like a lot for a stand, but this thing is really heavy duty, and once you throw a sandbag at the bottom, it's ready to go with a setup like this. And that's important because this arm that we're going to add can extend pretty far, and that's a lot of weight to be throwing over one direction with a stand. So you want to have something really heavy duty for a setup like this. The next piece of the puzzle is the arm itself. Now I'm using the Rode PSA 1 arm, And essentially it comes with two different bases. One that you could drill a hole into a desk and attach that way, or this one which would clamp onto the side of your desk. I have modified this mount to go onto a light stand. So all you need to do is essentially take that screw section that would normally clamp onto your desk and unscrew it all the way and then pop it off of the entire setup. This leaves you with the mount itself and then this little bracket here with a hole at the bottom where that tightening thread used to be. Next, you can take a Rapid Baby adapter, which is essentially a light stand adapter that has a 1/4-20 bolt on the end. Stick it through that hole on the mount and then use a wing nut and maybe a washer to tighten it up. At this point, you can take the entire adapter and the arm and stick it onto your light stand. Now, on the end of the arm, you could just mount a microphone directly, but I've set up a Rycote pistol grip, which gives me a little more flexibility when it comes to how I position the microphone. So I can obviously grab the handle, move it around a lot easier, and then I'm able to loosen this knob here and tilt the microphone. So there's pretty much no position I can't get this microphone set up in. For the microphone itself, I am using the Deity S-Mic 2. It conveniently comes in a kit with this Rycote pistol grip, which is really handy, and then that just threads directly onto the stand. But of course, you could just put a ball head on the end of this thing and use any microphone you wanted to. So that takes care of the stand, the arm, and the microphone. I would recommend you also pick up a sandbag and throw it on the bottom of this whole setup. It'll give you a really nice weighted setup that easily moves around and rolls around on the stand. Next, let's talk about the heart of the system, which is the MixPre 3. So this is the recorder and preamp system I've been using for a while. I absolutely love it. I really should do a review. But in short, it is similar to the Zoom and Tascam options, but on steroids. It is built like no other piece of audio gear I've purchased. It has 3 XLR inputs and even more, and it does ISO recordings, meaning that on a single SD card, I can be recording several microphones at once. It can be used with USB on your computer and a ton of other stuff. You can see it's got some really nice LED indicators, knobs, everything about this thing is amazing. Now, what's cool about the MixPre 3 is it can be powered over USB. So this setup right here, we're using the MixPre 3, and what I've done is I've taken a cheese plate and added some Velcro to the top of it and bolted it to the top of the MixPre. This gives me something I can mount stuff to if I need to down the road via 1/4-20s, and I use the Velcro soft side on the cheese plate so that we can mount some other things here in a little bit. To power this entire setup, we are using a USB battery. To mount this battery to the entire setup, I use spiky Velcro on the bottom of the battery and soft Velcro on the top. This will allow us to add even more, as you see here. So I can right now go ahead and pull this wireless receiver off of the top, and we have our battery, and it's mounted very securely to the top of the MixPre. Now, since we have a base of Velcro that's soft on top of the battery, I can take stuff like this new Deity Connect receiver and plop it on top. Now the whole setup is nice and secure. To mount everything you see here that we've talked about so far to the stand itself, I'm using a very simple nano clamp with an arm. You can pick these up for between 15 and 20 bucks on Amazon, and I'll have links to everything here in the description if you want to build this kit yourself. And that's really it. I've got an entire setup that can roll around. If I need to, I can do multiple transmitters, so 2 wireless mics, as well as an XLR microphone, or any combination that I need for my sound. So I have absolutely been loving this setup, and it's made such a big difference. I used to hate having to set up for audio because camera is fun, you know, you get it set up, you get it framed, but audio is always like, great, where am I gonna put this? Cables everywhere, where's the recorder gonna go? Running it to the camera, but I can't monitor it. So this setup allows me to grab headphones, check audio before I record, and it's all ready to go. Super easy to set up. Now you might be sitting there thinking, Caleb, that's ridiculous. Why would you spend $1,500 on a setup like that for YouTube? Well, I didn't start with this by any means. This is something I've built up to over 10 years or so of doing this, and we're doing this full time. So having a setup like this is really important for our workflow, but I totally get if you need to spend a little less when getting started, and I got you covered. So we're gonna go through a bunch of ways you can modify this setup to save a lot of money. So the first thing is getting a cheaper stand. I found a $50 stand that does roll on Amazon. It's not gonna hold as much weight, but it'll most likely get the job done for you, although I'd still recommend throwing a sandbag on it. Next, there's a knockoff version of this microphone arm on Amazon. It's about 50 bucks, which is half the price of this Rode PSA-1. You could pick that up, and for a microphone, you could go with, instead of this setup here with the S-Mic 2, you could get the D3 Pro kit, which also comes with this right goat handle for around 288 bucks. If you wanted to spend even less, you could go all the way down to a Rode VideoMicro, and you're only dropping $60 on a microphone. When it comes to the recorder and wireless setup, you could replace everything you see here with something as cheap as a Zoom H1n, which is around $100, and run a 3.5 millimeter into that recorder. So a setup like that would drop the price from $1,500 to well under $500 to get you started. So that's gonna wrap up this video. In fact, let me just go ahead and swing my microphone around and switch back to the nice XLR audio. I love this thing. It's been working great for me. And if you're looking for a microphone setup, hopefully this video has helped you, or at least given you a couple ideas. All the links to everything we talked about will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.